day. Failure gives you two choices. You stay down or you get up. Well, I'm up and I am fired up because I have figured it out. I have figured out that I need to stand in this ring and just plain old do something that I should have done a long time ago.
Read you like a book, you nook. Read you like a book, you nook. What's a nook? A nook is a place that is like in the corner, isolated, right? That's what many people are. This is an impersonal attack. All right, let's take it. Read you like a book, you nook. Visions that get lost for sure. Why so secretive? This is lucrative. I'm like Shakespeare, also appreciative. You don't have what it takes to take it to the next level. It's a gamble, you see. My whole life I've wrestled. Federal case, all in your face. I'm not part of any race. I don't know what I am at a crossroads, quicksand. It's all taking me to pack and stand. Waiting, anxious, I plan, I'm racing. I've always been and gone, I care a lot. People see me nod cause I'm mostly done. By the time you finally come to your senses, I will be light years away. Not even a message can get to me. All communication lost cause you didn't take advantage. Improvise my way through the passage. Hey, just a little bit of a verse I wrote this morning with this beat. It's nice, huh? Yeah. All right, anyway, let's get into the two little topics that I wanted to kind of try this with this video, kind of like a song, and then talk for a couple minutes about the two ideas that I had. The first one is this idea that I was thinking about that has to do with like being an adult. I'm a 90s kid. I was born in 92. So I guess my generation is that generation that grew up with cartoons and stuff and, was really like a kid. And then, as an adult, I feel like there's a big contrast because adult life is like, all about responsibility. I had my homie once tell me like, because I didn't live the adult life in the States. And he told me like, you didn't grow up. You grew up in the States, but you didn't have the adult life in the States. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, well, I didn't have the adult life in the States, but I had the adult life in Mexico, and I'm pretty sure it's the same thing. It's, dealing with assholes, dealing with traffic, responsibilities, all this type of stuff, right? But then I also think about something my mom used to say, which was, or that she says, is that she, ever since she was a little kid, she always wanted to have kids. Like that was her objective in life. And that's interesting because then I think about what I always wanted to be, and I wanted to be like a fireman, and then I wanted to be like a rapper. I ended up being like a teacher or an educator or whatever, a professor, which is fun. But then I also think about being an adult, and I think as a kid, when I was growing up in the 2000s, I felt like I was very limited. I always felt like I was limited. And I this may have to do with my name, which is Francisco, and that stands for like freedom. So I feel like I always wanted freedom, right? And I felt like the only way to really achieve true freedom was like by being an adult, right? Because adults can do whatever they want. Like if you have your own place, you have your own job, you can do whatever you want. And more than doing whatever you want, I feel like it still trips me out, like I'm 33 and I still find it very interesting, like the way, like honking your horn at a car that's driving like a dumbass, that's fun, like all of these things, like lately I've been thinking that like all of these adult things you do, they're kind of fun, like going to work, all this type of stuff. Like you're interacting, you're engaging with people, you have little micro problems at work and things like that. And I feel like all of that stuff is like it's cool. I mean, like, because you think about this, nowadays they say, you need to find your passion, and I feel like that's disguised as like, that's a disguise for basically like slavery, like making people work. Not to that extreme, but it's basically like, you have to work, but we're not gonna make you work in something you don't like. Now we're gonna make you work in something you do like, right? So find your passion, find that thing you like or whatever, but it's still like forced labor to a certain extent, right? Capitalistic. And you can get all right, all left wing, communist about it. But what's the alternative? The alternative is not working. And people have a tendency when they don't work to just like be lazy. So in that case, that's the reason why we wouldn't want that, right? We would want people to be engaged, people to be productive, to be producing. And if that means finding what you like and doing what you like, then that's okay with it. So that's where and you may do something so much that eventually you like it, right? And that's where I think that propaganda of do what you like comes into place. I mean, it's cheap propaganda. At the end of the day, it's cliche, it's capitalistic. It has a monetary intention, but ideologically, we can even say that's the best we have, because what else are you going to do? Nothing, right? So that's where I would say, and then I was also thinking, well, the difference between being a kid and an adult, because like some people would say, well, I wish I could go back to my childhood and be a kid again and all these things. And I mean, that would be fun, but I think your freedom is very limited, or at least in the 2000s it was, because you couldn't really do whatever you wanted. And as an adult, I feel like you have more freedom than you do as a kid, right? Well, I don't know about kids nowadays, because they basically run the household, but that's a different story. But anyway, I was thinking about, are there any other people like me out there that have that mentality of like, and I don't know if I've always had this as an adult, but I do now. And are there more people like that maybe want to say, I do enjoy being like an adult, and it's fun and doing all these things, and it makes you productive and it gets you going, and it basically stops you from being bored, right? Okay, and the other thing was, the second topic was this little technique. I made a video that I think about a lot a long time ago, probably like 2 years ago, that talks about how to combat or how to defeat anxiety. Like being in a cold space, open windows, turning on the fan, excuse me, if you have to. And since then I've developed other little techniques, like putting on the TV, leaving the TV on, things like that. But there's one in particular which is entirely mental, and it actually has to do with free association, from Freud's free association, which is, you can write freely about whatever comes to your mind, or you can talk freely about whatever comes to your mind, which is like sometimes done in therapy, or you can think freely about whatever comes to your mind, and you just associate one thing with the next. And I mean, I think you'll have pretty marvelous reveals or insights if you do this. So I couldn't sleep last night, and then I started doing this, and because your mind's already doing this when you can't sleep, you're like thinking about this and thinking about that, but you're doing it like very slowly, right? So the objective here is to speed that up, right? Like just start thinking about whatever you're going to think about really fast, and then as soon as you do that, you'll wear yourself out, you'll tire your mind out, right? And then you'll just engage into that alpha stage, which is so you can sleep, right? So the thing here is that I want to try this, verbally, and I'm gonna get started on it right now, right? So free association has to do with Freud's theory, and Freud's theory makes me think about how people think about sex, but it also makes me think about dreams, and how dreams really don't have any type of influence or direct influence, even though they kind of do. And when they do, I think people can get reveals or can get insights into how their brain works. And when people get insights into how their brain works, and they can, you know, tire their mind out by doing this exercise, which is free association. And when it's free association, then you can associate it with whatever comes next. Like, I've been thinking a lot about cause and effect, and whenever I think about cause and effect, I also think that I've lacked a lot of practical knowledge in it, because I think it's very theoretical, but I failed to see it in real life applications, and I would really like to see it in real life applications, because I feel like I can teach a lot of different things, or I can actually learn things that I can later teach. I have a lot of insecurities as a teacher. I'm planning my courses for next semester, but I also feel like maybe I'm not going to be good at it them, and then, you know, maybe I'll have to rewire this whole, rethink this whole labor situation, or this whole professional situation. I have also been thinking about maybe getting into another field or another type of job, but I don't really know what type of job that would be, because I wouldn't want to be working all day at this job. And as a teacher, I feel like you have hours here, hours there, and it's kind of more fun or funner or whatever. I don't know grammatically which one's correct right now, funner or fun. And I just like to associate ideas, because, well, when like I said, when I'm trying to sleep, it makes me tired and it wears me out, and wearing myself out is so I can fall asleep, and then I can reach that alpha stage, like I was saying. And then from there, it just takes me back to the idea of Freud. Okay, so yeah, I don't really want to do that right now. I mean, I think, like, because it will wear me out maybe, but yeah, I think it has to do more. I think you think faster than you speak. So I think like, sometimes I've thought of things, and before I can verbalize them to myself, even in my mind, I already know what the idea is, right? I already know what the solution is. Like, the difference between teaching and learning, where like, very generally or broadly speaking, teaching has to do with the teacher, and learning has to do with the student. Like, it's their responsibilities. I would say, just for sake of argument, 100% responsibility of each person. Yeah, but anyway, I thought I'd try that, and let me know what you guys think. I feel like free association is a very good way to get good insights and ideas, because I was doing that yesterday, or maybe it had to do with the fact that I was entering my alpha stage, and as I was entering my alpha stage, I started to drift off. But you know how when you're about to fall asleep, you have like crazy ideas, or like nice ideas, or like very creative ideas. That's, I think, what was happening. But I also think, like, if you do it, you know, or if you just think like that, at times, like maybe in meditation, you know, but the key word here is fast, is speed, right? You have to do it very fast, right? And without any obstacles, without any impediments, without any limitations, just free association, as free as can be, right? Like being an adult. Okay, well, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video with the song and things like that, and I'll see you in the next one, all right? Peace.